The sound of shattering glass was followed by Amanda Wilson's horrified scream as my satellite dish crashed through the windshield of her gray RAV4. I couldn't help but laugh, hands planted firmly on my hips, as she covered her face in shame. 3 days earlier, she'd smugly informed me, "Your dish is gone because it violated our aesthetic guidelines." But karma has a perfect aim when HOA presidents remove your property without permission. Sometimes that satellite they took falls straight onto their HOA car with a spectacular crash. I'm Jason Mitchell, 32, a software developer working remotely for a tech company in San Francisco. After 5 years of apartment living and dealing with unreasonable landlords who wouldn't even let me mount a TV on the wall, I finally saved enough for a down payment on a house in Oakwood Hills, a suburban community with reasonable HOA fees. Or so I thought. During my home search, my realtor, Diane, assured me Oakwood Hills had a hands-off approach to governance. They maintain the community pool, handle landscaping of common areas, and make sure nobody paints their house neon green or parks a broken-down RV in their front yard, she explained. Basic stuff that protects property values without micromanaging homeowners, nothing like those nightmare HOAs you hear about. The neighborhood seemed perfect. Quiet streets with mature trees, well-maintained homes, and a mix of young families and professionals. The monthly HOA fee of $175 seemed reasonable for what it covered: pool maintenance, common area landscaping, and a small reserve fund for infrastructure repairs. 3 months into homeownership, I made the place my own: fresh paint in every room, new fixtures in the kitchen, and, most importantly, a proper entertainment system for hosting my weekend sports watch parties with friends. As a diehard football fan who doesn't miss a game, I needed reliable service with all the sports channels. After comparing options, I chose satellite over cable. Not only was it $50 cheaper per month, but it offered significantly better sports packages with access to out-of-market games. The installation was scheduled for a Tuesday morning in September, just in time for the season opener. The technician, Mike, arrived promptly at 9 a.m., clipboard in hand. "Where would you like the dish installed?" he asked after a brief tour of the property. "What's the best location for both good signal and HOA compliance?" I replied, showing him a printed copy of the HOA guidelines I downloaded before signing my contract. He nodded approvingly. "Smart to check first. According to these rules, you're good as long as it's not visible from the street. Let's put it on the southeast corner of your roof. You'll get excellent reception, and it'll be completely hidden from the front." I watched as he meticulously installed the dish, ensuring it was secure while minimizing roof penetration. When he finished, he handed me an information sheet about the FCC's odor rule. "Keep this handy," he advised. Federal law protects your right to install satellite dishes under 1 meter in size, regardless of HOA restrictions. Some associations try to fight it, but they can't legally prevent you from having this dish. If anybody gives you trouble, just refer them to this regulation. For 2 blissful months, I enjoyed crystal-clear reception for every game, hosted weekend watch parties for friends, and settled into homeownership without a hitch. Then Amanda Wilson, 41, was elected HOA president, and everything changed. Amanda moved to our community from a master plan development in Texas, where she'd been climbing the HOA ranks. With her perfectly highlighted brown hair, perpetual athleisure wardrobe, and constant presence on social media documenting community violations, she arrived with ambitious plans to elevate property values through strict enforcement of rules, including many that didn't previously exist. Within weeks of her election, her silver-gray Toyota RAV4, with HOA magnets on both doors, became a feared sight in our neighborhood. She drove slowly through the streets 3 times a week, stopping frequently to photograph homes on her iPad Pro and make notes. Orange violation notices, quickly nicknamed Wilson warnings by frustrated homeowners, began appearing on doors for increasingly trivial infractions. "Your hose reel is visible from the street. Please relocate within 48 hours." Trash containers must be removed from the curb within 2 hours of collection. Unauthorized potted plant variety on front porch. At the first monthly meeting after her election, Amanda unveiled her grand vision, the Community Enhancement Initiative. The annual dues would increase by 30% to fund aesthetic improvements, including designer landscaping, uniform mailboxes, and an architectural review committee with approval power over everything from paint colors to holiday decorations. Our goal is to create a signature community that stands out in the real estate market, she announced, clicking through a PowerPoint presentation filled with stock photos of luxury developments. These simple changes will elevate Oakwood Hills and significantly increase all of our property values. When several homeowners objected to the cost, Amanda smoothly responded, "Quality communities require investment. Our property values will increase significantly more than offsetting these minimal expenses." The vote passed 7-6, with the deciding vote cast by Amanda herself. Attendance at the meeting had been only 23% of homeowners. Most people had busy lives and trusted the HOA to handle basic maintenance, not implement sweeping changes. My personal Wilson warning arrived exactly 63 days after I moved in. The notice, printed on bright orange paper and placed in a plastic sleeve on my door, cited my satellite dish as an unauthorized exterior modification in reference to a bylaw amendment adopted just 2 weeks earlier. According to this new rule, all technological equipment required pre-approval and needed to be completely concealed from view from any angle. That evening, I scoured previous HOA communications and found a meeting announcement buried in a community newsletter email I'd missed while traveling for work. The aesthetic guidelines had been adopted during a special session at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, when most working residents couldn't possibly attend. I called the HOA office immediately. "This is Jason Mitchell from 1546 Sagebrush Lane. I need to speak with Amanda about this satellite dish notice." 20 minutes later, my phone rang. "Mr. Mitchell." Amanda's voice was professionally clipped, the kind of tone that suggested she dealt with problem homeowners regularly. "How can I help you today? This notice claims my satellite dish violates HOA guidelines, but it was installed in full compliance with the bylaws that existed when I purchased my home 3 months ago. Our community standards evolve, Mr. Mitchell. The board recently determined that visible satellite equipment diminishes property values and creates an unappealing technological aesthetic. I understand community standards can change, Amanda, but the FCC's ordered rule specifically protects homeowners' rights to install satellite dishes under 1 meter in size. Federal law preempts HOA restrictions in this specific case." Her tone hardened slightly. "Our legal counsel has assured us our guidelines are enforceable when they serve the community's aesthetic interests. Your counsel is mistaken. I've consulted with the FCC directly, and they confirm that HOAs cannot restrict reasonably placed satellite dishes, regardless of aesthetic concerns. It's federal law, and it supersedes any HOA bylaw." "Well," she replied with practiced patience, "we'll have to agree to disagree. You have 30 days to remove it or face daily fines of $50. Before you go that route, I'll email you the relevant FCC regulation. I'd rather resolve this amicably than escalate to federal complaints. Do what you feel is necessary, Mr. Mitchell. The board's decision stands." That evening, I prepared a detailed email with the full FCC regulations attached. I highlighted the specific sections prohibiting HOA restrictions on satellite dishes, included links to official FCC rulings in similar cases, and attached a formal notice that any attempt to enforce their illegal amendment would result in federal complaints and potential legal action. For good measure, I CC'd every board member whose email address I could find in the community directory. 3 days later, a terse notice arrived in my mailbox. Violation temporarily suspended pending legal review. Round 1 to me, but Amanda Wilson wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. For 2 weeks, things were quiet. Then the real harassment began. First came a notice about my lawn being 1 4 inches above regulation height, despite my having mowed it the previous day. Then a claim that my garbage can was visible from the street, though my security camera footage showed it had been properly stored in my garage. Then a citation for unauthorized modifications for the smart doorbell I installed, which was explicitly permitted in the technology section of the original HOA guidelines. Each time, I documented the false claims with photos and timestamps, sent formal rebuttals, and kept meticulous records. Each dismissal seemed to fuel Amanda's determination. My neighbors began experiencing similar treatment. Ryan, who lived 2 doors down, received a violation for having a basketball hoop in his driveway, a feature that had been there for 5 years. Elena, across the street, was cited for excessive pet noise, though her elderly corgi barely had the energy to bark at squirrels. The pattern was clear. Anyone who questioned Amanda's authority faced targeted enforcement. At the next HOA meeting, I arrived early and sat in the front row with my laptop open. When Amanda called for new business, I stood up. I'd like to address the board about the pattern of targeted harassment against homeowners who stand up to illegal bylaw enforcement. Amanda's professional mask slipped for a moment as her face flushed. That's not an appropriate topic for. According to Article 7, Section 3 of your bylaws, I interrupted, projecting the relevant section on my laptop screen. Any homeowner may address grievances during new business. I have documentation of 17 separate instances of selective enforcement affecting 9 different households. For the next 5 minutes, I presented my evidence systematically. I showed before and after photos of identical situations that resulted in violations for some homeowners, but not others. I displayed a timeline showing how enforcement actions clustered around residents who had questioned board decisions. Several other homeowners stood up to share similar experiences. By the end, 2 board members looked visibly uncomfortable, and one, Tom Reeves, approached me afterward. "Jason," he whispered, "some of us aren't happy with how things are being handled. Keep documenting everything. There's more going on than you realize." That night, I invested in a comprehensive security system with cameras covering every angle of my property, a decision that would prove crucial sooner than I expected. The following month, a critical product launch required me to fly to San Francisco for emergency meetings with my company's leadership team. I left Thursday morning, planning to return Sunday evening. As my Uber pulled into my driveway around 7 p.m. Sunday, something felt immediately wrong. I scanned my house, mentally cataloging what had changed. When it hit me, my satellite dish was gone. My security system had sent motion alerts to my phone throughout Friday, but I'd been in back-to-back meetings and hadn't checked them. Heart pounding, I pulled up the footage from Friday morning. There it was. 9:17 a.m. A white pickup truck with community maintenance magnets pulled into my driveway. 2 men in khaki uniforms and baseball caps climbed onto my roof with a ladder. They methodically disconnected my satellite dish, removed the mounting bracket, and carried everything to their truck before driving away. And supervising from the street? Amanda Wilson, in her silver RAV4 with HOA magnets, pointing and directing the workers while taking photos on her iPad. I immediately called the police to report theft and trespassing. Officer Reynolds arrived within 20 minutes, viewed the footage, and shook his head. "This is clearly unauthorized removal of private property," he confirmed, writing in his report. "We'll follow up with Mrs. Wilson and the HOA office first thing tomorrow." Next, I called my satellite provider to report the theft. The customer service representative was surprisingly unsurprised. "We deal with HOAs overstepping their authority all the time," she said sympathetically. "Your contract includes our odor protection plan. We'll send a technician tomorrow for a replacement installation at no charge, and our legal team will contact you about pursuing damages against your HOA." That small victory gave me my first smile since arriving home, but I wasn't finished yet. I wanted my original equipment back and, more importantly, accountability for Amanda's increasingly brazen actions. That evening, I created a private neighborhood group chat and invited the neighbors I had met at the HOA meeting. I shared what happened and asked if anyone had witnessed the Friday morning incident. Within an hour, I received responses from 5 different homeowners. Lane, from 2 doors down, had seen a maintenance truck and thought it was strange since Friday wasn't a regular maintenance day. James, across the street, had actually questioned Amanda about the workers on my roof, and she told him it was authorized HOA business to remove non-compliant equipment. Susan, from the corner, had been walking her dog and overheard Amanda instructing the workers, "Just get it down and don't damage the roof." I don't want him to have any grounds for complaint. Most importantly, Bob Thornton, a retired attorney next door, offered not just his witness statement, but his legal expertise. "This is theft, trespassing, and harassment," he confirmed after reviewing my footage. "With your video evidence, it's an open and shut case for small claims court at a minimum. And if she's doing this as HOA president, the entire board could be liable." The next morning, I visited Miguel, our community maintenance manager, who'd always been friendly despite Amanda's constant criticism of his work. I found him at the community pool, cleaning the filters. "Morning, Miguel. I need to ask you about something that happened at my house Friday." His eyes dropped immediately. "Mr. Jason, I am sorry. She said it was approved by the board." "Who told you that, Miguel?" "Ms. Wilson. She said your satellite thing was against the rules, and you had agreed to removal. She brought the work order herself, with the HOA stamp." I showed him the police report. "She lied, Miguel. I never approved anything. Those workers committed theft and trespassing." He nodded slowly. I had a feeling something wasn't right. "She has been, how do you say, changing many documents lately. Last month, she tried to write me up because I questioned a work order that didn't seem legitimate. Do you know where my satellite dish is now?" "In a maintenance shed behind the clubhouse. She told me to put it on the high shelf where nobody would see it." "I'd like to get it back, Miguel." "It's my property." He hesitated, then nodded. "I have lunch at noon. The shed will be unlocked for 30 minutes at noon." I retrieved my satellite dish and mounting hardware. I took photos documenting its condition and location in the shed, then secured everything in my garage. By 1 p.m., I had scheduled an emergency HOA board meeting for the following evening, citing illegal actions by board leadership as the agenda. I attached the police report, security footage, and witness statements to my formal request. The satellite company technician arrived that afternoon as promised. "I heard what happened," he said, shaking his head as he reviewed the footage on my phone. "You wouldn't believe how often we deal with HOAs overstepping their authority." I smiled. "I have a specific request for the new installation." I showed him a different location on my roof, still within FCC regulations, but significantly more visible, especially from the HOA office across the street. He grinned. "Sending a message, huh? As long as it's within guidelines and gets good signal, I can mount it wherever you want." An hour later, my new, slightly larger, satellite dish was installed in its provocative new position. I made sure all my security cameras had clear views of it from every angle. As if on cue, Amanda's silver RAV4 with the HOA magnets pulled up across the street just as the installation truck was leaving. She emerged with her iPad, photographing my house and the new installation. She was so focused on documenting the violation that she didn't notice me approaching until I was right beside her. "That's lovely attention to detail, Amanda, getting my property from all angles," I said. She jumped, then quickly composed herself. "This new eyesore is even more blatant than the last one. The board will not stand for this deliberate provocation. It's completely legal under federal law, as I've explained repeatedly. And speaking of things that aren't legal, I'd like my original dish back." Her smile was professionally cold. "I have no idea what you're talking about. That's odd, because the police have video evidence of you directing its removal, and I have witness statements from 5 neighbors." For the first time, Uncertainty flickered across her face. "You're bluffing." I held up my phone, showing her the time-stamped video. "This is you standing right here, directing those workers to remove my property without permission. That's theft and trespassing at a minimum." Her expression hardened. "The board approved emergency action to enforce community standards. It's all perfectly documented. Falsifying HOA documents is fraud, Amanda. I've already spoken with Miguel. I know about the fake work order." She took a step back. "You don't understand how things work here. This isn't some tech startup where you can ignore the rules." "No, Amanda," I simply stood up to overreach. "The emergency board meeting tomorrow evening should be very interesting." As she stalked back to her car, I called after her. "By the way, I've already recovered my original dish." It's amazing what people will tell you when you treat them with respect. The look on her face was worth every minute of harassment I'd endured. That evening, my phone kept buzzing with messages. 3 board members contacted me independently to distance themselves from Amanda's actions. Tom Reeves admitted the board had never authorized removal of my dish. "She told us you'd agreed to a compromise," he explained. "We never approved any action against your property." More surprisingly, he revealed that Amanda had been using HOA violations as leverage to get homeowners to use her husband's contracting company for repairs and renovations. It's a whole scheme. They target homes that need work, issue violations, then magically offer discounted services if you use Wilson Renovations. By morning, it was clear Amanda was in serious trouble. Her only hope was to somehow prove I had voluntarily removed the original dish myself, negating her responsibility. At 7:15 a.m., my security system alerted me to movement on my property. I checked the live feed and couldn't believe what I was seeing. Amanda Wilson, in a light blue button-up shirt and dark pants, attempting to prop a ladder against my house. Beside her on the ground was my original satellite dish. I grabbed my phone and began recording as I hurried outside. "Amanda, what exactly do you think you're doing on my property?" She froze, 1 foot on the bottom rung of the ladder. "Jason, I was just returning your property as a gesture of goodwill before the meeting. By trespassing at 7 a.m. and attempting to reinstall it without permission? That's an interesting definition of goodwill. Don't be ridiculous. I'm trying to resolve this situation amicably. By breaking the law again? Step away from my house, Amanda. The police are already on their way." She glanced down at the satellite dish, then back at my roof, clearly calculating her options. "This is all a misunderstanding. I was trying to help. By creating evidence that I removed the dish myself? Either way, it won't work. I have you on video again." Neighbors were starting to emerge from their homes, drawn by our confrontation. Amanda's professional demeanor cracked as she realized she had an audience. "This isn't over," she hissed, grabbing the dish from the ground. What happened next occurred so quickly I almost missed it. As Amanda lifted the satellite dish, her heel caught in a sprinkler head. She stumbled forward. The dish slipped from her hands and sailed through the air in a perfect arc directly toward her silver RAV4 with the HOA magnets parked at the curb. The satellite dish that she had wrongfully removed from my house was about to fall straight onto her HOA car. The impact was spectacular. The satellite dish crashed through the windshield with a tremendous shattering of glass, embedding itself in the dashboard and sending glass fragments across the hood and driveway. It was exactly what the title of this story promised. My satellite dish had fallen straight onto her HOA car. For a moment, complete silence fell over the street. Then Amanda covered her face with both hands in horror and let out a shriek that violated her own noise ordinances. I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. I placed my hands on my hips, taking in the beautiful karma of it all as her pristine HOA vehicle sat destroyed by the very satellite dish she had illegally removed from my home. "My car. Look what you made me do," she wailed, still covering her face in shame. Several neighbors had their phones out, recording everything. Bob Thornton, the attorney, stepped forward. "I witnessed the entire event. as did at least 7 other residents. Ms. Wilson was trespassing and damaged her own vehicle while attempting to manipulate evidence. Amanda fumbled for her phone, hand shaking so badly she could barely dial. I maintained my triumphant posture, hands on hips, barely containing my laughter. Your insurance might be interested to know you were in the commission of multiple crimes when this accident occurred. Trespassing, attempted fraud, evidence tampering. Officer Reynolds chose that moment to arrive, taking in the bizarre scene. I see Ms. Wilson has escalated since my visit yesterday, he remarked dryly as he began taking statements from witnesses. I noticed Miguel standing at the edge of the crowd, trying to suppress a smile. I gave him a subtle thumbs up. Sometimes justice is delivered in the most satisfying way possible. That evening's emergency board meeting had to be moved from the small HOA office to the community center to accommodate the unprecedented attendance. Nearly 80% of homeowners showed up, a record for our typically apathetic community. Amanda was notably absent, having sent a brief email claiming a personal emergency. The vice president, David Miller, called the meeting to order with visible discomfort. We're here to address concerns about recent actions taken by the board, specifically regarding the removal of Mr. Mitchell's satellite equipment. I had prepared a comprehensive presentation, complete with video evidence, witness statements, and copies of the relevant federal regulations, but before I could begin, board member Tom Reeves stood up. Before Mr. Mitchell presents his case, I'd like to make a motion. Based on evidence that has come to light regarding unauthorized actions, falsified documents, and potential criminal behavior, I move for the immediate removal of Amanda Wilson as HOA president and board member. A chorus of seconds echoed through the room. David looked relieved. All in favor. The vote was unanimous, including from David himself. When it was my turn to speak, I kept it brief. What happened to me could have happened to any of you. HOAs serve an important purpose in maintaining our community, but they must operate within the law and with the consent of homeowners. I don't want financial compensation. I want accountability and a return to the community-focused approach that attracted me to Oakwood Hills in the first place. By the end of the meeting, the board had formally apologized to all homeowners who had been unfairly targeted, voided all fines issued under questionable circumstances in the past year, created an oversight committee of homeowners to review future rule changes, scheduled a comprehensive review of all bylaw amendments passed during Amanda's tenure, and reinstated the neighborhood block party and holiday lights contest. As people filed out, dozens of neighbors stopped to shake my hand or share their own Wilson warning stories. The relief in the room was palpable, like a neighborhood-wide exhale after holding our breath for too long. 2 weeks later, I received a message from Bob that Amanda's insurance company had denied her claim for the RAV4 damage. Apparently, committing multiple crimes while damaging your own vehicle falls outside most coverage policies. She put her house on the market the following day. The for sale sign in her yard seemed to stand a little taller than regulation height, but nobody filed a complaint. Miguel was promoted to facilities director with a long overdue raise. The first community event under the new board leadership was a volunteer day to replant the flower beds Amanda had deemed too vibrant and inconsistent with our neutral aesthetic. As for my satellite dishes, both the original and its replacement remain exactly where they are, providing crystal clear reception for every game when my friends come over for watch parties. The new board unanimously passed a resolution affirming compliance with FCC regulations regarding satellite equipment. Sometimes standing up for what's right means weathering a storm of pettiness and power trips. Sometimes justice comes from steadfast determination and community solidarity. And sometimes justice falls right out of the sky, or, more specifically, a satellite dish falls straight onto an HOA car, just like the one that crashed through Amanda's windshield. The next time you face an HOA bully wielding a clipboard and arbitrary rules, remember, federal law is on your side, documentation is your best friend, and karma occasionally delivers in the most satisfyingly literal ways possible.